In life, we are constantly judged by the people we meet, by the work we do, by the mistakes we try to hide. But what if I told you that the most powerful, ruthless, and influential judge of your life isn't even human? It has no face, no emotions, no soul. It's a shadow in the machine, a verdict written in code, 3-digit number. For a nurse in California who saves lives every day, that number says she's not worthy of a home. For a recent graduate buried in debt, that number decrees he's not trustworthy enough to open a phone account. They've built an empire on your financial secrets. They promised to protect it. But in 2017, they left the door wide open, and the data of 147 million people was exposed. This isn't just a story about money. It's a story about power, about control, and about a billion-dollar game that hundreds of millions are forced to play without knowing the rules. One number rules them all. In America, they call it the credit score. And this is its story. We're going to strip it bare. From its origins in a dusty ledger to the Wall Street giants who turned it into a weapon. From the victims it crushed to those who found a way to beat the game. If you're ready to understand the game that society runs on, if you want to see the rules written in invisible ink, then hit subscribe. The investigation starts now. Credit score, the haunting shadow. In America, there's a sneaky question that slithers into every corner of daily life, popping up more often than the familiar greeting, "How are you?" It doesn't echo in lively parties or cozy coffee chats. Instead, you'll hear it in chilly rental offices, tense job interviews, or even when just trying to sign up for a new phone plan. A seemingly simple question, but one that carries the weight of an entire colossal financial system. What's your score? They're not asking about your SAT scores, college grades, or sports achievements. No, they're referring to a far more mysterious number, one you rarely see directly. Yet it has the power to illuminate your entire life. It's like a secret dossier, not written by your own hand, but one that describes you in more detail than any resume you've ever prepared. A digital ghost, silently trailing your every step. From small decisions like financing a phone, to major milestones like buying a home, a car, or even job opportunities. It decides which doors will swing open for you and which will slam shut right in your face. In reality, about 150 million Americans, nearly 2/3 of the adult population, are living with poor credit scores or none at all, excluding them from countless basic economic opportunities, from home loans to stable employment. That ghost is called the credit score. So where did this specter come from? How is it created? And why does it hold such immense power over the lives of millions? Most people know about FICO, the company behind the most popular credit scoring model in the US, but few truly grasp the cold, mechanical logic behind that number. It's not just a digit, it's a judgment system, an algorithm designed to assess your reliability in the eyes of financial institutions. But what does it evaluate you on? Why can a single number shape your entire future? The average FICO score in the US today is around 715 to 717. But this hides a massive disparity. 40 million people have scores below 600 considered poor, leading to higher loan interest rates, exorbitant insurance costs, and even lifespans 10 to 20 years shorter than those in areas with average scores of 700 plus. Imagine your FICO score as a dating algorithm in the financial world. Banks, insurance companies, landlords, and even some employers use it to answer one single question. Is this person worth trusting in a financial relationship? Just like swiping on a dating app, this algorithm will swipe right if you're an ideal candidate, or swipe left if it deems you too risky. And to make that decision, it relies on 5 main criteria, each playing a different role in shaping your enigmatic number. The most important factor, accounting for 35% of your score, is your payment history. This algorithm doesn't care how much money you make, what job you have, or how grand your dreams are. It only wants to know, are you someone who keeps their promises? Every bill you pay on time, whether it's a $20 phone bill, thousands of dollars car loan, or even monthly utilities, is a positive signal sent to the algorithm. It notes this person is trustworthy. But if you're late, even by a day, or miss a payment, the algorithm flags it negatively. This person is risky. Alarmingly, late payment rates are rising higher than pre-pandemic levels, dragging millions into the abyss of low scores. Think of it as an extremely strict friend with a perfect, almost terrifying memory. It never forgets and doesn't forgive easily. A single late payment can haunt you for 7 years on your credit report like a financial scar that's hard to erase. For example, imagine Sarah, a single mom in Chicago, who suddenly loses her job due to company layoffs. She misses one credit card payment because she has to prioritize food for her child. The algorithm doesn't care about the reason: job loss, sick kid, or a misaddressed bill, only sees the numbers, not the circumstances. The result? Sarah faces a 5% higher interest rate on her car loan, costing her hundreds extra each month. In fact, nearly 44% of Americans who check their credit reports find at least one error, and about 5% have serious errors affecting 10 million people, inflating the cost of home, car, or insurance loans by thousands of dollars annually. The second criterion, making up 30%, is the amount of debt you're carrying relative to your credit limit or your credit utilization ratio. This is the most psychological part of the algorithm. It doesn't just look at total debt, but evaluates how you manage your limits. For instance, if you have a $10,000 credit card limit, but have used nearly all of it, like $9,500, the algorithm raises a red flag. This person is living on borrowed money. They're backed into a corner. Total consumer debt in the US is now higher than pre-pandemic levels, causing many to be heavily penalized for exceeding limits. Conversely, if you only use 20 to 30% of your limit, that's $2,000 to $3,000 in the example, the algorithm is pleased. It favors those who show restraint and use credit responsibly, like in a relationship. Appearing too dependent raises suspicions. Take Mike, a young engineer in San Francisco. He always keeps utilization under 25%, even for big purchases like a new laptop. The result? High score lets him get a home loan at low interest, saving him thousands compared to peers maxing out cards to chase flashy lifestyles. The third factor, 15%, is the length of your credit history. The algorithm believes in stability and long-term relationships. Someone with 20 years of credit use, even with a few stumbles, scores higher than a newbie with just 1 year of perfection. Why? Time measures endurance. A long history shows you've weathered ups and downs while managing finances well. Gen Z is at a huge disadvantage, with an average FICO of just 676, lower than the national 715, making credit access tough. Oh. This is especially unfair for young people or new immigrants. For example, Lee, an international student from China, fresh out of school in New York, has steady income from a programming job, but his short credit history gets him denied a car loan, despite never being late. The algorithm sees him as an unknown quantity, with no mercy for beginners. The fourth criterion, 10%, is new credit. This is the most misleading and potentially disastrous factor. If you suddenly open multiple accounts, like applying for 5 credit cards in a month, the algorithm panics. This person is in crisis, borrowing everywhere. New credit activity is slowing, but those who rush still get hit hard in an unstable economy. For instance, Emma, a freelancer in Los Angeles, tried building credit from zero by opening 3 new cards in 2 months. Result? Her score dropped 50 points, forcing her to pay higher interest on a small business loan. The algorithm views this as impulsiveness, not smart planning. The final factor, also 10%, is the types of credit you manage. The algorithm likes diversity. If you have a mortgage, car loan, and a few credit cards, it sees that as experience. But if it's just credit cards, it thinks you're lacking depth. It's like a restaurant wanting you to try multiple dishes, not just one. Take the Johnsons in Florida, with a diverse history from home loans to cards, maintaining high scores into old age. Conversely, Tom, an office worker with just 1 card, sees his score stagnate despite on-time payments. But don't rush to open everything. Each step needs caution, as new openings can hurt your score. These 5 factors combine into a cold, unforgiving judgment system. The algorithm doesn't care about life events, job loss, illness, minor mistakes. It only knows numbers, and from there, it controls your life. A 100-point difference can decide if you get a car for work or live in your own home instead of renting. Want to rent an apartment? Landlords check your score. Buying a car? Interest rates depend on it? Some employers view it as a measure of responsibility. From phone contracts to business loans, the ghost always whispers. Approved or denied. With a low score, 620639. You might pay 4.869% home loan interest, with monthly payments up to $1,061 higher than for good credit folks. Listen to the Garcia family's story, a textbook example of how the system shapes dreams. They immigrated from Mexico to Texas, carrying the American dream, working hard, saving every penny. Their son falls gravely ill, hit with a $200 medical bill from an unfamiliar clinic. Confused by the U.S. healthcare maze, they set it aside, thinking it's a mix-up. The bill sells to a debt collector, reported to Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. A year later, with savings for a home down payment, they head to the bank hopeful. The officer shakes his head. Score too low, loan denied. That small bill becomes a 7-year scar, postponing their dream of a roof over their heads. Medical debt makes up 58% of consumer debt on reports, affecting 15 million people and totaling $88 billion often from surprise bills. Another example, David in Atlanta, whose bank account gets hacked, leading to a late payment. Even after proving it, the mark lingers on his report, costing him a bank job. They check credit to gauge responsibility. Pause and imagine a different world. One where you walk into a bank and the officer chats, learns about your job, dreams, who you are. A small mistake doesn't define a decade. Sound utopian? But that's the reality in many countries, where human worth isn't quantified into 3 digits. No algorithm standing between you and opportunity. Credit score obsession is a terrifying hallmark of American financial culture. What does your number say about you? Does it tell the true story, or a distorted one from the algorithm? Have you ever been judged, rejected by something beyond your control? Share because speaking up makes the ghost less scary? And in the next part, we'll dig deeper into a more insidious trap, how the system pulls you into an inescapable debt spiral. Debt spiral, the sweet quicksand. And in America, a credit card isn't just a tiny sliver of plastic tucked into your worn leather wallet. It's a seductive whisper, a kind of financial magic wrapped in glossy polycarbonate, with an EMV chip gleaming like a talisman against hacks. With a light swipe or even a mere tap via NFC, can embrace those limited edition Nike sneakers. Jet off to a Hawaiian beach to shake off exhaustion from late-night overtime shifts. Or indulge in a foie gras dish at a Michelin-starred spot where candlelight blurs away work. Worries. It grants the illusion of freedom, boundless shopping power, as if the universe is wide open. Everything within reach. No need to wait for months, send paychecks, or grit your teeth saving pennies. According to the latest 2025 Federal Reserve report, total credit card debt has surged past $1.2 trillion, 15% from last year, amid stubborn inflation and skyrocketing gas and grocery prices. But every superpower has a dark side, right? That curse lurks in the fine print on the back of the card, hiding in the endless paperwork everyone skims through, riddled with convoluted terms about late fees, variable interest rates, and fragile grace periods. It's called a PAR annual percentage rate, forged from a devilish formula blending base interest with a risk percentage based on your credit history, like a personalized sentence. And so, that sweet intoxication turns into deadly quicksand. You don't realize you're sinking until it's up to your chest. And every struggle only pulls you deeper, because each late payment unleashes a $39 penalty fee like death's scythe. Try a simple calculation that'll jolt you awake at 3 a.m. Suppose you carry $3,000 in debt, a number so commonplace it's boring. When NerdWallet's 2025 survey shows the average U.S. household shoulders $7,000 in card debt, average interest at 22%, common at giants like Chase or Citibank, where rates dance from 15% to 29% based on your fecal Sarah? The Chicago office worker who treated herself to a MacBook Pro for remote work, now gnawed by 24% interest daily? Each month, the bank sends a sparkling bill via app or paper mail with a fake smile. Just pay the minimum. That's about $60, usually 2 to 3% of the balance plus accrued interest. Just $60 to own a $3,000 item like an iPhone 16 Pro Max or a slick gaming PC? You tell yourself, piece of cake, I can swing it. But this is when the quicksand tightens. If you keep paying a measly $60 monthly, know how long to wipe out $3,000? Over 11 years, 134 months, per bank rates calculator like Mike in Texas, who bought an e-bike for gas-saving commutes, still paying after 5 years, with monthly bills devouring his travel savings. In total, you'll fork over nearly $7,000, double the principal, with over $4,000 just piled in interest. Along that endless road, each month mostly covers interest, principal shrinking by pennies, and if you splurge more, debt doubles like a virus. The minimum payment trap isn't to save you, it's to chain you, keeping you spinning in an infinite loop where banks rake in billions from interest and fees. Imagine scooping water from a pool in a storm. Each scoop out, 2 scoops of interest pour in, and miss a cycle. Lightning strikes with penalty fees. Banks don't want you debt-free. Your debt is their gold mine, as the 2024 CFPB report exposes. Over 45% of users pay minimums, funneling hundreds of billions in interest to the finance industry. Some cards even compound interest post 21 to 25-day grace periods, turning small debts into snowballing avalanches. Credit cards are just the overture to a thorny financial world. If they're slow-sinking quicksand, payday loans are sudden black holes, from predators like Check Into Cash or Ace Cash Express. They target the most desperate, those needing cash fast to plug rent holes in sky-high New York. Fix a broken truck on the highway, or cover emergency medical bills like an uninsured appendectomy. The promise is sweet: no credit check, cash in hand in 15 minutes, just income proof and a bank account. But the price? Rates up to 400% or more per Pew Charitable Trust's 2025 report, averaging 391% APR dozens of times credit card rates. That's Lisa's story, a single mom in Atlanta borrowing $500 for the electric bill, only to watch it balloon to $2,000 after 3 rollovers, thanks to 14-day cycles and renewal fees like timed bombs, legal in 27 states, but really predatory lending in disguise, with shiny storefronts and slick apps. For low-income, minority, or rural folks, paying on time is a distant dream. CFPB reports over 80% of loans roll over, extending the hellish debt cycle. Then emerge sleeker predators: buy now, pay later, BNPL from Klarna, Afterpay Affirm, or PayPal Pay in 4, infiltrating Amazon, Walmart, Shopify. They lure by $200 AirPods, pay $50 monthly over 4 installments, 0 interest if on time. Steal, especially with e-commerce booming. 1PL sales hitting $150 billion globally in 2025 per Statista. But it's a cunning psychological trap, multi-layered, blurs true cost, slicing into digestible bits, triggering dopamine like a lottery win like Emma in LA, dropping $50 a month on a wedding dress, then adding a handbag because just $50 more, resulting in 30% spending spikes versus normal. Per Harvard Business Review 2024, you impulse, buy, overspend, and miss a payment. $1.25 fees hit, even dinging your credit via Equifax. The system normalizes debt, turning shopping into indebtedness. CFPB reveals over 13% of users get mired, stacking debt atop cards. Yet the dead numbers on paper aren't the worst horror. Real terror is debt's invisible burden. Emotional storm no spreadsheet can measure. It's the chest-crushing rock each morning, quickened breaths, a foggy future like morning mist. It's the 3 a.m. heartbeat racing, eyes glued to a dark ceiling, mind whirling with bills, rates, bankruptcy visions, or eviction, It's opening your bank app. Seeing a drained balance not enough for your favorite latte. Forced to skimp on organic veggies or weekend movies. Debt doesn't just steal money, it steals sleep, peace, and glimmers of a brighter tomorrow. It plants deep shame that makes you hide debt piles from your partner, building secrets into ticking time bombs and hushed talks. It forces lies to parents on video calls. I'm fine, while collection agencies echo in your ears. Like Tom in Seattle, slinging to serving shifts to pay off car debt, but nightly feeling like a loser despite exhausted limbs mirroring the American Psychological Association's 2025 survey. With 72% of adults enduring financial stress eroding mental health, debt is poison, eroding sacred bonds. Money fights turn cold wars, cracking love. With 40% of divorces tied to finances per the Institute for Divorce Financial Analysts. It's the guilt buying your kid a small Lego set, knowing that cash should have fed a college fund. It's feeling trapped on a hellish treadmill, legs burning but going nowhere. While Instagram floods with yachts and mansions, deepening isolation, the debt spiral isn't just personal tragedy. It's a sophisticated machine, from post-2008 lax regulations in some states to today's temptations via cashback rewards. Airline miles from cards, no hassle quick cash from payday loans, or eye-predicting BNPL apps suggesting what you need next. All normalize debt in a consumer economy. But you're not alone. Over 160 million Americans wrestle that quicksand, per Federal Reserve 2025. And many rise via debt counseling from the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, or Chapter 713's bankruptcy. Ever choked on a card bill, panic surging with trembling hands. What in this system, from predatory rates to deceptive ads, outrages you most? Share your story, because voicing it is the key unlocking chains, connecting you to a community of fellow strugglers. And in the next part, we'll expose the shadows behind the curtain, the reckless. Wall Street titans who built this machine and ignited the 2008 crisis with unhinged greed, lunging millions into unemployment and prolonged recession. The careless gods when the gatekeepers cause havoc. In America, we entrust our financial lives to a small council of colossal entities, like lazy Greek gods lounging atop a cloud-shrouded Olympus. The big three, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian hoard our ledgers of fate, etching every stroke of our money journeys for hundreds of millions of souls. Our data is the molten lava fueling their power, blind faith, the pillar propping their skyscraping palaces. We worship them as loyal guardians, flawless sentinels, ever vigilant over our sensitive secrets with iron fists and impenetrable firewalls. But in 2008, and again in 2017, we got slapped with a bitter truth. These gods don't just stumble, they sometimes deliberately topple the sacred temple. And when they fall, the entire financial universe quakes like an earthquake, leaving millions of mortals scrambling from the ashes of shattered dreams. Rewind the clock to 2008 when a Wall Street hurricane ravaged the globe, hurling millions into the abyss of lost homes, jobs, and the last pennies scraped from sweat and tears. The root of the tragedy. A weapon of mass destruction forged from the very credit numbers we offer these gods. Those were subprime mortgages, fancy sounding, but brutally simple. Wall Street titans, in a frenzied hunger for profits, handed out home loans to those with trashed credit folks who clearly couldn't handle them. They knew the risks were sky high, but instead of breaking, they cleverly disguised them. Piles of rotten debts were tossed into a stew, mixed with a few good ones. Then packaged into glittering mortgage-backed securities, MBS sold to investors worldwide like immortal treasures. Imagine selling a basket of fruit, half rotten and festering. To fool buyers, you cram them into a fancy glass case, slap on super premium fruit labels, and swear absolute safety. Investors from housewives' pension funds to European megabanks gobbled them up, oblivious to the garbage inside. Then rot spread like plague, and when it burst, the whole tower collapsed with a roar. Like the Ramirez family in Florida, who took a subprime loan for their first dream home in 2006, only to be evicted in 2009 when balloon payments exploded, thrusting them into homelessness amid unemployment storms, one of millions of similar tales per HUD reports. As borrowers defaulted en masse, unable to shoulder mortgages, the house of cards wobbled. Banks, the catastrophe architects, got bailed out with hundreds of billions in taxpayer dollars from the US government. But the true victims? The blind faith mortals who lost homes, jobs, credit scores shredded like confetti left, discarded in the rubble without a word of solace. The 2008 crisis wasn't an accident. It was an indictment of the gods' boundless greed, willing to burn the village to warm their own pockets. If 2008 was a systemic cyclone, the Wells Fargo scandal was outright daylight robbery from within. It's not machine glitches or random slips. This was calculated betrayal from one of America's banking behemoths. For years, Wells Fargo secretly spawned millions of phantom bank accounts and credit cards under unsuspecting customers' names. Why? Insane pressure from top brass to hit absurd sales quotas? Employees threatened with firing if they didn't produce, did the unthinkable, deceived their own clients. They opened savings, checking, and credit card accounts without request, forging signatures using personal info like names and addresses. Consequences. Customers got fleeced by bogus fees for things they didn't know about. Worse, those fake credit cards seeped into credit files, puncturing scores for millions. A mistake not theirs, but they bore it all. Denied car loans, spiked rates, even lost dream apartments or jobs. Like Mary Thompson in Ohio, who discovered 3 ghost accounts in 2016, tanking her FICO from 720 to 580, costing her a rental contract and forcing her to crash with her daughter. Typical victim among 5 million fake accounts per CFPB probes. The Wells Fargo mess is stark proof of corporate greed, profits crushing ethics, law, and trust. When exposed, CEO John Stump exited with a $41 million golden parachute. While everyday folks crawled to mend wounds, they didn't inflict. But if you think that's the peak of irresponsibility, buckle up to seethe over the 2017 Equifax catastrophe. Equifax, one of the 3 credit gods, let slip one of history's largest data breaches. Hackers stole personal info from 147 million Americans, nearly half the population. They snatched names, birth dates, addresses, and the nightmare pinnacle, social security numbers, the master key, unlocking your identity. What boils the blood isn't the scale, but the cause, not some super hacker breaching steel walls. But Equifax forgetting to patch a basic security hole in Apache Struts, software as simple as changing an alarm clock battery. They, holders of millions sacred data, left the back door wide open to wolves. Victims, decades of identity theft, dread, freezing credit, monitoring reports, fearing impersonation for cards or loans. Equifax CEO Richard Smith and execs dumped stock before announcement, pocketing millions and golden parachutes, while folks fended for themselves like David Kim in California, hacked to borrow $20,000 on his SSN in 2018, spending 2 lawyer-filled years untangling, per NPR tales. It's like handing your house keys to a guard only for him to leave the door ajar, then grab the safe on his way out. After this horror string, the question dangles. Who reigns in these 3 giants? Terrifyingly, almost no one. TransUnion, Equifax, Experian aren't government agencies. They're private firms chasing profits, with your data as core product sold to banks, insurers, lenders. You're not a customer. You're their commodity. They mine, analyze, profit from your financial history, but you hold near zero power. No say in data, misuse, or leaks. We bear ourselves transparently to them, from utility bills to mortgages, but they can obscure deadly errors, from risky debt bundles to mass data spills. This system doesn't shield you, it optimizes profits for the shadows. After these chilling tales, how much faith do you have left in financial giants? We're forced to put all eggs in a basket, proven careless, greedy, irresponsible. Should we swallow a machine where three private firms grip millions' financial futures with scant real accountability? Dream of a world where you own your credit data, knowing who's peeking, who's using it, and the right to wipe it clean if desired. One where their mistakes bring real whips, not piddly fines dwarfed by profit mountains. What do you make of this mess? What infuriates you most? Should we demand more power over our financial data? Pour out your thoughts, for that voice is the hammer shattering the silence, letting careless gods reign on. And in the next part, we'll delve deeper into the past, unearthing the origins of quantifying human worth with a number and why it may be the root mistake from the very start.
History, from the ledger book to the plastic card, that glossy plastic card you swiped for a steaming Starbucks coffee this morning, with its tiny chip holding a galaxy of data on your spending habits and reliability, has a more humble origin than you'd imagine. Not from colossal machines or monster algorithms, but a worn leather ledger perched on the splintered counter of a tiny Midwestern U.S. general store over a century ago. Before FICO, before behemoths like Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian swelled into empires, there was a different kind of Cretata system run on black ink. Yellowed paper, and above all, the fragile thread of trust-binding flesh and blood people. Jump to 1905 in a tiny town of a few hundred souls milling about. Folks knew each other like the back of their hands. The squat blacksmith with the booming laugh, the gentle schoolmarm with her high-bunned hair. You step into Mr. Henderson's shop, pockets empty, needing flour, eggs, or rope to mend the fence. No problem. Mr. Henderson, with his silvering walrus mustache and sharp eyes, knows you well. He knows your dad plows from dawn to dusk. Your mom always pays church dues on time. He grins, flips open his dog-eared leather book, scribbles 050 Tom the Fellow, then claps your shoulder. Pay next week, friend. That good crop this season, that was primitive credit. Pure as a headwater stream. No reports, no scores, no math formulas. It anchored in what today's AI could never grasp. Character. Your trustworthiness wasn't from bill histories, but neighbor whispers, market nods, or how you help the kids next door. It was warm, flexible, human-breathed. If crops failed like Tom's drought year, Mr. Henderson might erase a few cents or extend a month. If your kid spiked a fever bedridden like Tom's boy, that year he'd slip in a cough syrup bottle. Pay later, tend the little one first. But that system's dark side cut sharp as a blade. Rooted in character, it bent easily to prejudice. If you were Mr. Kowalski, the fresh Polish immigrant with a thick accent and odd name, Mr. Henderson's book might snap shut in your face, your skin shaded darker like black families migrating south in the 1900s. Per historical records, the credit door slammed, no matter your double diligence. Or if you quarreled over a stray cow fence, credit vanished instantly, no explanation. It was a human system, rife with bias, injustice, emotional whims.
Then history's wheels spun faster. The Second Industrial Revolution, late 19th century, toppled the old world. Millions of farmers fled fields, swarming megacities like smoke-choked New York, noisy Chicago, roaring Detroit. Familiar towns dissolved into concrete jungles where people were anonymous shadows in human seas. In million-packed cities, Mr. Henderson's ledger became a joke. How could a Brooklyn shopkeeper know an Ohio visitor's character? Community warmth yielded to cold strangeness. Personal trust, the heart of credit, became a luxury, unsustainable in a world of fleeting faces. America's economy rocketed, but transactions clogged on the eternal question: how to trust this stranger will pay. From that chaos, a new seed sprouted, clever yet chilling. Late 19th century, merchant associations mushroomed, bent on sharing secrets. They didn't know every customer, but could stitch info into clearer pictures. They compiled lists, blacklists, etching deadbeats and frauds, whitelists praising reliables. These were credit bureaus' ancestor stinny offices where amateur detectives roamed gathering data. They knocked on neighbors, landlords, co-workers, doors, rifled papers for divorces, bankruptcies, even town gossip. They noted everything. You're drinking, church-going, or loitering with bad sorts. Not just financial files, but soul portraits. Retail credit company later Equifax amassed millions such dossiers, clutching Americans' deepest secrets unsupervised. Personal data, for the first time, became tradable goods, swapped for profit like Rosa Parks' pre-fame file, noted risky for civil rights work, per archived docs. By the 1920s, America plunged into the roaring 20s, an era of manic optimism, exploding prosperity, exploding consumerism. Henry Ford's assembly lines worked miracles, turning cars from dreams to middle-class reality. Ridges, washers, radios flooded in, promising easier lives. For the first time, average families dreamed of life changers. A Ford Model T for school runs, a washer freeing housewives from hand scrubbing. But catch? No cash? Moguls spotted the gold mine. They rolled out installments. General Motors birthed GMAs for car loans. Sears, Roebuck sold fridges on layaway. Rods whispered enchantingly, "Don't wait, own today." Like Hoover's a chicken in every pot push, catapulting consumption skyward. By now, pay later culture officially ignited. Debt once a stain, now a modern badge. American families acclimated, borrow for cars, homes, even clothes like the O'Leary family in Chicago, installment financing their first radio in 1925, turning Saturday nights into jazz sessions. But the party crashed hard. The 1929 stock crash dragged the Great Depression, smashing illusions. Millions jobless, banks busting, once glittering debt now shackles. Families with car or fridge loans faced repossessions, evictions. Poverty plunges like the Joad siblings in Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath, icons for millions real. Dust Bowl migrants, tent-living Okies. A generation grew under debt's shadow, passing iron lessons to kids. Save, don't borrow. Buy only what your pocket holds. Credit seemed rooted, then stillborn. But World War II ended. America rose superpower. Factories shifting from tanks to cars, fridges, TVs, millions of GIs home, GI Bill pumping interest home loans. Suburbs like Levittown sprouted prefab row houses for vets. Middle class boomed. Optimism spread like dawn's sun. Depression fears faded, yielding new dreams. Verdant suburban homes, gleaming garage cars, laughing families. To spark it, an invention dawned, changing everything. In 1949, Frank McNamara forgot his wallet at New York's Wheeler's restaurant. Mortified mid-steak, idea flashed. A multi-venue payment card, Induve month billing. Diners Club Card, born 1950, the first paper charge card, usable at 27 eateries. Banks smelled bigger money, not just payments, but revolving credit loans. In 1958, Bank of America launched the bold Fresno drop, mailing 60,000 activated plastic Bank Americards to Fresno, California mailboxes. Unsolicited, like heaven's gifts. Chaos, fraud rampant, many tossed aside. But proved, hand credit power, people use it. Bank Americard became Visa, MasterCard followed. Card revolution exploded like Betty Smith in Fresno, snagging an unexpected card, using it for her first vacuum, her local memoirs. The hanging question, why did us credit root so deep, more than Europe or Asia? Not just economy, but American soul. A nation of fresh starts, betting future brighter than past. Swiping a card is wagering on yourself short today, made up tomorrow. That bold optimism. Other nations scarred by war, famine, dared less. Europe, Asia, stress saving, walls from past against uncertain futures. But America chose growth, consumption, dreams. Credit cards the key, though sometimes leading to debt hells. From character trust ledgers, through whisper networks to system, to wallet plastic, the credit journey is epic wonder and warning. We traded human warmth for cold numeric efficiency. Today's system unmatched convenience, but stole humanity, turning you to a bank digit cipher. What do you think of that trade? Is modern credit fairer, more efficient than Mr. Henderson's book? Or did we lose something precious chasing convenience? Unburden your heart. For every story, View is a puzzle piece, illuminating the fate machine of our lives. In the next part, we'll probe how credit haunts American psyche, culture turning financial digits into human worth measures, and the societal legacy from that shift.
Culture and psychology, the scarlet N in America. There's a silent judgment woven into every facet of life. Beyond familiar markers like the clothes you wear, the school you attended, or the job you hold, it's a deeper, invisible, yet immensely powerful judgment based on a number you can never hold in your hands. The credit score, a three-digit figure born from cold algorithms, has become not just a gauge of financial risk, but a measure of human worth in modern American society. Over decades, America has done something extraordinary, yet troubling. It turned a financial tool into a moral symbol. Your credit score is no longer just a number for banks to assess your ability to repay debt. It's become a statement about your character, an invisible badge defining who you are in society's eyes. A high credit score, 750 or 800 and above, doesn't just secure you low interest rates or easy apartment rentals. In society's subconscious, it means more. It says you're responsible, a promise keeper, a mature and trustworthy individual. You're a good citizen, someone who plays by the rules and has won the financial game. A high score becomes a badge of honor, proof you've mastered the system. Conversely, a low credit score carries a cost far beyond financial disadvantages. It comes with a subtle stigma, a whisper that you're irresponsible, impulsive, or incapable of planning for the future. It's like a scarlet unfor, etched on your forehead, an invisible stain others can see with a few clicks on your credit report. In a society obsessed with this number, a low score doesn't just limit your financial opportunities. It shapes how society perceives your worth. This judgment doesn't just come from banks or landlords. It seeps into the most intimate corners of life, from personal relationships to how you view yourself. The credit score has become part of the story America tells about success and failure, winners and losers. From this moral judgment, a toxic culture has sprouted, a culture of shame. In America, debt isn't just a financial state, it's a secret to hide. Americans rarely talk openly about their debt, even with those closest to them. There are conversations that never happen in the light of day, confessions suppressed in the shadows. Think of the father who can't co-sign his child's college loan because his credit was ruined after an expensive medical treatment. Or the young couple sitting in silence, realizing one's massive student debt is delaying their shared dream of a home. Or the friend who forces a smile while declining a dinner invitation. Not because they lack cash, but because they're too afraid to swipe their card again, dreading the growing debt. Debt creates a prison of isolation. Those in debt often live with chronic anxiety and depression, feeling they're the only ones struggling. Scrolling through social media, they see friends flaunting vacations, new homes, or shiny cars, and their sense of failure deepens. They avoid seeking help, fearing judgment, fearing being seen as a failure. This silence is fertile ground for shame to grow, eating away at them from within. The credit system has even infiltrated the deepest corners of life, love, and marriage. Today, credit scores are a topic in dating conversations, as crucial as questions like, do you want kids? Or where do you see yourself in the future? Some dating apps have even experimented with features letting users display their credit scores, a way to flaunt financial stability and readiness for a serious relationship. A high credit score is seen as a sign of maturity, of life management skills. A low score can be a deal breaker or reason to end a relationship before it starts. Many fear taking on a partner's financial burdens, worried that one person's debt could drag both into a financial spiral. A soulless number, created by an algorithm, now has the power to decide who gets loved, who gets rejected, and who gets a chance to build a future together. No, some nights millions of Americans can't sleep, not because of hunger, not because of cold, but because of a number. They lie awake, staring at the ceiling, their minds racing with credit card balances, rising interest rates, and that cursed three-digit score. They feel trapped, defined by past mistakes, judged by an algorithm with no heart, no capacity to understand their circumstances. This is the credit system's deepest psychological impact. It doesn't just control your financial opportunities, your ability to buy a home, a car, or open a phone account. It controls your emotions. It steals your peace, making you feel your worth is reduced to a number. It whispers that you're not good enough, that you failed, that you don't deserve your dreams. But is that true? Can a person's reliability, the complexity of a life, be captured in 3 digits? Or is this just an illusion, a sophisticated form of social control we've accepted as truth? When a number can shape how you see yourself, how others see you, and even how you love and are loved, we must ask, who does this system serve? The American credit system has changed not just how we spend, but how we think, feel, and interact. It's turned a financial tool into a moral yardstick, a symbol of success or failure. But what's the cost of this shift? Can we imagine a world where a person's worth isn't defined by a number? Share your thoughts. What in this credit culture feels most unfair? Have you ever felt trapped by a number or judged by something beyond your control? In the next part, we'll step back to ask bigger philosophical questions. Is this system truly fair? Where is it leading our society? Can we build a future where people are judged by their character and actions, not a number on a screen? Philosophy and big questions, the algorithm rules. We've traveled a long journey, the leather-bound ledgers of the 19th century, through earth-shaking financial scandals, to the profound psychological toll of a 3-digit number. We've seen how the credit system shapes not just finances, but culture, psychology, and society's view of human worth. Now it's time to ask the most critical question. Is this system at its core, right? Does the credit score truly measure a person's trustworthiness? Or is it just a sophisticated tool for social control, categorizing and discriminating based on the narrow criteria of financial institutions? To answer, we need to dig deeper into the system's essence, what it really measures, and the price we pay living under its rule. Consider 2 real stories, 2 people judged harshly by the credit system. First, a man who made mistakes in his past, paid his debt to society with years in prison, and is now rebuilding his life. He's learned a trade, works hard, and lives honestly. But his credit score is 0 because his years behind bars gave him no chance to build credit. The system says he's untrustworthy, denying him a decent apartment or a small loan for a work vehicle. He's paid his debt to society, but to the algorithm, he's still a risk. Next, a single mother working 3 jobs, sleeping for hours a night to provide for her children. She has no debt because she's never dared to borrow. But because she lacks a credit history, the system also deems her untrustworthy. When she applies for a small loan to buy a used car for work, the bank says no. She sacrifices everything for her family, but to the algorithm, she's an unknown not worthy of trust. These stories raise a core question. Does the credit system really measure character, or does it only measure a narrow set of privileges? The ability to borrow and repay consistently. It doesn't measure the resilience of the ex-prisoner or the sacrifice of the single mother. It doesn't care about kindness, honesty, or hard work. All it cares about is your relationship with financial institutions, a relationship quantified in numbers, not humanity. One of the credit system's greatest strengths is its illusion of objectivity. We trust algorithms because we think they're free of human bias. Unlike Mr. Henderson at his 19th century store, with his personal prejudices, an algorithm seems like a fair referee, relying only on data and logic. But this is a dangerous illusion. Who wrote these algorithms? Humans? And humans are never impartial. These algorithms are programmed to prioritize one thing: profit for financial institutions. They're designed to protect banks, insurers, and landlords from risk, not to deliver justice or opportunity to borrowers. The result is a system that's never truly fair. It punishes poverty, as the poor are more likely to default. It punishes misfortune, car accident, illness,
or job loss because these disrupt cash flow, the only thing the algorithm cares about. It has no room for empathy or context. A medical bill you couldn't pay because you had to choose between treatment and feeding your kids can tank your score for years. A small mistake, a moment of weakness, can become a decade-long sentence. At its core, the system is designed to perpetuate inequality. Those with money and high scores continue to enjoy low rates, better opportunities, and society's respect. Meanwhile, those at the bottom, whether due to poverty, bad luck, or lack of credit history, are trapped in a cycle where every door slams shut. If this makes you uneasy, look across the Pacific to China's social credit system. Often criticized in the West as a terrifying tool of social control. There, the government tracks every behavior from jaywalking to social media posts, and assigns a score. That score determines whether you can buy plane tickets, enroll your kids in good schools, or work in certain jobs. It's clearly a mechanism to shape behavior and punish non-compliance. But let's be honest, what's the difference between China's social credit system and America's financial credit system? Both use a single number, decided by invisible forces to grant or deny basic life opportunities. In China, you're punished for political missteps. In America, you're punished for financial ones, like missing a bill or lacking credit history. But the underlying philosophy is eerily similar, using an algorithm to categorize citizens, rewarding compliance, and punishing those who can't or won't play by the rules. How thin is the line between financial credit and social credit? How far are we from a day when a late bill could affect your health insurance eligibility? Or when bankruptcy could strip you of other basic rights? When a number can decide where you live, what job you do, or who you love, are we truly living in a free society? It doesn't have to be this way. Look to countries like Japan or much of Europe, where societies are built on a different philosophy. Stability comes from saving, not borrowing. That is seen as a burden to avoid, not a tool to prove your worth. Banks are more cautious about lending, and people are more cautious about spending. They may not achieve America's explosive consumer growth, but they also avoid the personal debt crises and chronic financial anxiety. This is a cultural choice, a question of values. Is a society valuing safety and stability better than one betting everything on growth and opportunity? Is the price of the American dream a promise of a brighter future, an ever-present nightmare of debt, where millions live in anxiety and shame over numbers they can't control? This brings us to a final philosophical question, one about the nature of freedom in the 21st century. In a world where a number can decide where you live, what job you do, what car you drive, or who you love, are you truly free? Or are you a prisoner in a digital jail, one you helped build by participating in the credit system? This isn't just about finance, it's about ownership of self. Do you own your credit, or does it own you? When an algorithm can shape your life, judge you, and categorize you without knowing the real you, we must ask, have we gone too far down this path? If you could redesign the entire credit system, where would you start? What would a fair system for measuring human trustworthiness look like? Should it measure qualities like compassion, perseverance, or the ability to learn from mistakes? Or have we gone so far down the algorithmic road that there's no turning back? Share your ideas. Every perspective, every question is a light shining into the darkness of this system. In the final part, we'll turn inward. We'll talk about hope, about ways we as individuals and communities can find a way out of this credit maze and build a future where people are judged by their humanity, not a number.
Escape and hope, play to win, or flip the table. We've traveled a long, challenging journey from 19th century leather ledgers, through ruthless debt spirals and earth-shaking financial scandals, to the invisible judgment of a three-digit number. We've faced the carelessness of credit giants, felt the psychological weight of debt, questioned the fairness of an entire system. Feeling overwhelmed, angry, or even helpless is natural. But if this journey ends in fear or despair, it's meaningless. Now it's time to talk about hope. It's time to realize that though the credit system may feel like a maze designed to make you lose your way, you can find a path out. If this is a game rigged to make you struggle, the good news is you can learn to play a tour, join others to flip the board entirely. Both paths are forms of resistance, and both offer a chance to reclaim control of your life. The first path is personal resilience. It demands discipline, knowledge, and patience. Instead of seeing the credit system as an unbeatable monster, view it as an opponent with rules and weaknesses you can exploit. This isn't about accepting defeat. It's about learning to play the game better than those who designed it. Knowledge is your greatest weapon. Learn the system's language, APR, credit utilization, debt-to-income ratio. These terms aren't meant to intimidate you. They're levers you can pull. They don't understand that every dollar you pay above the minimum payment is a blow to the bank's profits. They don't know your credit score like a general studying a battlefield map. Free tools like Credit Karma or Experian let you check your score and report without cost. Knowing where you stand is the first step to winning. If you're starting from scratch, build your credit history cautiously. Don't rush to open flashy credit cards with tempting rewards, but high interest rates. Instead, start with safe steps. A secured credit card is ideal. You deposit a small amount, which becomes your credit limit. Use it for small purchases and pay on time to build a positive credit history. Another option is becoming an authorized user on a trusted family member's card, like a parent or spouse, to piggyback on their good credit. These are training wheels to enter the credit world without big risks. If you're drowning in debt, don't panic. Turn debt into a problem to solve. Two proven strategies have helped millions escape debt. Snowball method. Focus on paying off the smallest debt first, regardless of interest rate. Each paid-off debt gives a psychological win, fueling motivation. Use the money from that debt to tackle the next. Avalanche method. Prioritize the debt with the highest interest rate to save the most money long-term. Once it's paid, move to the next highest. No method is perfect for everyone. Choose what fits you and stick to it. List all your debts, cut unnecessary spending, and find ways to boost income, even if it's a few extra hours on weekends. Listen to Jessica's story, a teacher in Ohio, to see that escape is real. At 28, Jessica owed $30,000 in credit card debt from years of covering living costs and impulsive spending. Her credit score was below 550, and she lost sleep nightly, consumed by shame and feeling trapped. One day, she decided enough was enough. She listed every debt, cut up her cards, and chose the snowball method. She worked weekends, cooked at home instead of dining out, and paid off her smallest debt first, a $500 bill. When it was gone, she felt a spark of hope for the first time in years. 3 years later, Jessica was debt-free. Her score is now 780. She says, "I didn't just escape debt, I reclaimed my life." Jessica's story proves that no matter where you are in the credit maze, you can find a way out with a plan and determination. Playing to win is necessary to survive the current system. But let's admit it, acquiring millions to spend so much time and energy just to beat an unfair system is an unsustainable burden. For lasting change, we need the second path, collective action where we change the rules together. The first step is breaking the wall of silence around debt. When you share your story, whether it's about a loan denial, a medical bill that tanked your score, or a small victory like paying off a debt, you free yourself from shame and help others see they're not alone. Open conversations about debt and credit can create a collective voice, exposing the system's injustices and inspiring action. Nonprofits like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or groups like Americans for Financial Reform are tirelessly fighting for consumer rights. They push for fairer credit laws, like capping predatory payday loan rates, holding credit bureaus accountable for errors, and protecting consumers from bank abuses. Learn about them, support them with donations or by spreading their message. Every small action builds toward change. Most importantly, use your vote. Support lawmakers committed to protecting working families, not Wall Street's interests. A fair financial system where credit bureaus are transparent, interest rates are regulated, and consumers control their data isn't a pipe dream. It's a political choice. When millions speak up and vote for change, the walls of the credit maze begin to crumble. This path may be slower, harder, but it's the only way to ensure future generations don't have to play a game rigged against them. Whether you choose personal resilience to beat the system, collective action to change the rules, or both, always remember, you are not your credit score. Debt is a circumstance, not a life sentence. Your worth isn't in 3 digits on a report. It's in your resilience when you rise after a fall, in the kindness you show others, in your ability to learn and grow from mistakes. The system may try to define you, but only you decide who you are. You can play to win, stand with others to change the rules, or, like many, do both. Are you on team play to win, or team flip the table? Or do you believe we need both? Share your financial strategies, or a small victory you're proud of, so we can learn and inspire each other. When we began this journey, we faced a haunting question. Can an invisible number decide whether you have a home, a job, or even love? We've navigated a challenging financial maze. We've faced the shadow of the credit score, sunk in the quicksand of debt, and witnessed the carelessness of Wall Street's gods. We've traced history from a worn ledger to a modern plastic card, felt the psychological weight of judgment, and questioned the fairness of a credit-driven culture. Now, standing at the journey's end, we return to that first question. Can a single number determine your entire life? The answer is no one, unless you let it. Credit score, despite its immense power in modern society, cannot measure your courage in facing hardship. It cannot quantify the love you have for your family or the sacrifices you make for those you care about. It cannot reflect your creativity, compassion, or ability to rise after every fall. That number at its core is just a tool, a line of code in a system designed by humans, serving the interests of financial institutions. But you, with all your complexity and worth, are so much more than a line of code. If tonight you're tossing and turning over an unpaid bill, a red number on a screen, or the feeling of failure, pause. Take a deep breath and listen. You are not strange. You are not a failure. You're just a human living in a game designed to make you feel indebted to money, to society, to yourself. Your journey to this point, reading, reflecting, seeking answers, proves one thing. You're no longer blindly playing by the system's rules. You've started to see the maze's outlines. You recognize its traps, its walls, and its hidden paths. Understanding this game isn't just about surviving. It's about winning not by defeating the system, but by reclaiming the right to tell your own story. When you look at your credit score, tell it, you don't define me, I define you. Credit isn't destiny. It's a tool, one you can learn to wield wisely, fix when it's broken, and set aside when it no longer serves you. You're the craftsman, not its slave. Your life isn't measured by 3 digits on a credit report. It's measured by the moments you overcome fear, the relationships you build over time, the peace you find within yourself. Those are values no credit bureau, no algorithm can calculate or quantify. Standing before the mirror of the credit maze, this complex trap-filled system, we don't just see numbers or reports. We see ourselves, our dreams, our failures, our resilience, and our boundless potential to shape our own futures. The system may try to cage you, but you always have the choice to play to win. Flip the table, or simply walk out of the maze with your head held high. Keep sharing your story, keep asking questions, and keep believing that, no matter how powerful the system, you hold the pen to write your own story. Because your true worth, the worth of a human being, is something no number can ever define.
You've crossed the story. You felt every pulse in the dark, and I was there with you, quietly, always. That's why I left behind one last thing. Not to explain, not to impress, just to stay with you a little longer. A song I chose with care, as if tucking you in from across time and space. So go on, lay back, the music knows where to take you. If you're still here, then you're something rare. Not many stay this long. So, thank you for choosing to stay. I'm here too, still awake, surrounded by the quiet glow of my editing screen, shaping the next stories just for you. If there's anything you want to leave behind, a whisper, a suggestion, even just a symbol, drop it in the comments. Because maybe, tomorrow night, you'll hear yourself echoed in a story that's never been told before.